Hopefully no cats come in and interrupt my video. Hello! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Nico, and today you're getting me live in the flesh instead of just my voice because I wanted to talk about my iPad and all the accessories and extras that I got with it. So if you haven't seen my iPad unboxing, I will have it linked up in the corner so that you can check it out and see the unboxing of these products in more detail if you'd like to. In this video, I'm going to be going over what I like and dislike about my iPad, the AirPods, the Apple Pencil, the accessories that I bought, and the two apps that I most commonly use on the iPad itself. There are goods and bads for each of these categories, some with more bad than good, but regardless, let's get into it. So starting out with the iPad itself and the Apple Pencil, we're going to start with the pros for the iPad. The two things I use this iPad for the most are note-taking and drawing. Now this works great for both because obviously it's like writing in a notebook, except I can move things around. If the professor says, oh, this correlates mostly to this and we're going to move on to a different topic, I can sort of shift them around. And for drawing, I haven't used a drawing tablet, but I appreciate being able to see what I'm drawing as I'm drawing it. Another big plus for the iPad is that I can actually use it as a secondary monitor to my MacBook, which is sitting right over there. Using AirPlay, of course, Apple has this ecosystem where everything connects flawlessly. I can very easily make this a secondary monitor and have two screens, or have Discord on one screen and be sharing my notes on OneNote if I'm collaborating with my classmates or trying to get an assignment done. This is a minor plus, but it's also almost the same size as my laptop, so I can share the soft case that I use for both. This fits my laptop and my iPad. Not together, but it fits both of them perfectly fine. I appreciate the iPad being lighter and more portable than my actual laptop, although I do still prefer my laptop for anything involving typing or video editing. I don't particularly like iMovie on the iPad. It's not hard per se, but especially since I can't program all of the buttons on the mouse for the iPad to be at all useful, it's just kind of annoying. And I don't have a keyboard attachment to my iPad because that's not my primary use for the iPad. If I were to use this as a computer, I would absolutely want a keyboard for it. Compared to the previous iPad I was using, I'll type in the model and year. I highly appreciate that I can carry the pencil like this and charge it like this. Because if you don't know, the old Apple Pencils had a removable end and you plug them in like that and they just stick out. But with this one I can just plug it on here, it stays really easily. It's not crazy easy to fall off, although it does roll over pretty simply. But I do appreciate that it's always connected. Going back to the Apple ecosystem, I like that my iPad, my laptop, and my phone are all Apple products, so it's really easy to send things back and forth when it works. Well, that's more an issue with my phone. One thing I have noticed is that drawing and note-taking would probably be easier with a matte screen protector, like a paper-like or anything like that, because it is kind of slippery to write on glass, and I have shaky hands already. But if I try to draw a straight line slowly on this iPad, it looks like I'm in an earthquake again, and it just is not great. The matte screen protector would provide a good amount of friction to be able to control the lines better. I might eventually invest in one. It's not enough of a problem that I want to do it now. Now, on to the cons of the iPad and Apple Pencil. One of the things that I've noticed about the iPad that is kind of annoying is occasionally it won't fix its orientation. It doesn't happen all the time, it just occasionally happens, and it was
kind of frustrating the first time, but I just figured out that even if the screen turned, you still have to open it from this direction, and then it pulls up here, and then you have to swipe up. It's a lot.
The second issue I faced with the iPad and Apple Pencil is the pressure tracking is a little bit off. I noticed it initially in OneNote, and then I realized that it was also happening in Procreate, where my AC just turned on, wonderful timing, where I'm writing normally, and then suddenly my lines become very, very thick, as if I had suddenly turned my pencil at an angle.
So normally, writing, and then
my lines will suddenly appear thicker, as if I had just turned it or started putting more pressure on it. I don't know why this happens. It might be from leaning on the screen to write, which is more comfortable than hovering your hand like a whiteboard. It could also be an issue with the pencil tip.
I have unfortunately dropped the pencil like 2 or 3 times just because it's slippery.
So eventually I will try to replace the tip and see if that solves it. If not, I'll try to take it to Apple and see if they can do anything about it. If you also have this problem, please let me know down below. I'd love to know that I'm not the only one. Another issue I have comes from an update that happened maybe 2 or 3 months ago. It's what the update did to the home screen, the side tab here. Originally, I was able to put OneNote as a widget here, and Google Keep as a widget here. Oh, they put it back in. No, they didn't. So my issue is that they took off the ability to leave OneNote on this shorthand view screen. So you see if I pull it up, you have Google Keep and OneNote. If I swipe down to get rid of extras, OneNote doesn't stay. Add this to the list of cons. Magic. So even if I orient OneNote on top of Google Keep, when I swipe up to get rid of extras, it still gets rid of OneNote and not Google Keep. Like, why? Why? So I just keep neither of them on my home screen. Now, a side note, this is more of an Apple problem, and it's really not a big deal at all. My iPad stole my Memojis and won't give them back to my phone. I had some emojis on my phone that I customized. Opened iMessage on my iPad, they're there. Opened iMessage on my iPhone, they're not there anymore. And they won't transfer back, so. One last thing I didn't write down, the iPad takes forever to charge. It does have a really nice battery life. If you are using the Apple Pencil to write or draw, it does drain the battery a little bit faster, and it does take about 3 hours to fully charge. So just keep that in mind. If you need to go somewhere and you need to take the iPad, charge it beforehand. It does also still take forever to turn on, as it did in the unboxing video, so nothing has changed there. The AirPods. As far as pros go, there's not a lot to say, you know? They're convenient to carry around. I'm glad you can change the ear tips to fit your ears differently. They have a pretty nice battery life. You know, I can't complain. I don't charge them for a few days and they still work for me. The transparency and the noise cancelling are very nice. Transparency does sort of enhance any noise. If you turn on transparency, you notice everything around you just becomes louder and you hear the static of the air moving. I mostly use the noise cancelling for when I'm working out or I want to really focus in on whatever I'm doing and not pay attention to anything else. So usually when I'm drawing or doing homework or if I'm video editing. Now for the cons! Even when I first was wearing them for an extended amount of time.
Are you really eating now?
My cat chose now to eat. He's eating right now. I know you can hear it. I'm just gonna keep going because it kind of fits. Even when they were new, recently out the box, every now and then there would be a really loud, random sound. Like it just goes really loudly. It's very jarring and off-putting, and I'm kind of scared every time I wear them just in case. It's not often enough to hate the life of them, but it happens like once a month, and it's very annoying. Speaking of annoying.
Hi, Funnel.
The prioritizing of the AirPods is not customizable. Anytime I open my AirPods to try to connect to my phone to play music, it decides to prioritize connecting to my iPad. So my iPad is just like, hey, no, I'm more important. I really wish it was a setting that you could choose if all of your devices are turned on with Bluetooth on, you can choose what it'll prioritize.
Have I had a glare on my glasses this whole time? I have no idea.
So if I want to switch it to another device,
I have to go into my iPad settings and disconnect from my AirPods so that it won't steal the connection back. Because even if I connect them to my phone from my phone,
if I start playing anything on the iPad, it will switch to the iPad. It just says connected on my iPad. Now, I'm currently connected on my phone, and I can hear it playing music, but if it has now stolen the audio and is playing my video through my AirPods. I had it connected to my phone. It was playing music through my phone on my AirPods. I hit play on a YouTube video, and it is now connected to my AirPods. That is by far the most annoying thing about these AirPods. Moving on. Since the AirPods like to easily connect whenever you open them, they might ask to connect to anyone else's Apple device who's nearby.
whenever my boyfriend and I are both watching videos or trying to edit or trying to write something on our iPads, and I open my AirPods, I tend to do it very quickly and stealthily so that it doesn't open that on his device as well.
Because it will. So therefore, if you're out in public, your AirPods may ask some random stranger if they want to connect to your AirPods. I definitely didn't just drop them onto my lap. They also, regardless of whatever tips I use, tend to slide slowly out of my ears whenever I'm eating or talking, regardless of what ear tips I've used. I've tried the large, I've tried the regular, I've tried the small. I currently have the smalls on because they fit the most comfortably, but they still do that. And they get uncomfortable after like 2 hours or so. Maybe my ears are just weird. Moving on, we're gonna now talk about our Amazon accessories. If you guys saw in my unboxing video, I unboxed a case for my iPad and I unboxed a case for my AirPods, which I still have on. Some things I didn't have in that video are right here. I ordered a specific glove that has a double layer on the pinky to stop it from actually, you know, grabbing the screen and moving it because, like, hello, like the way I write tends to latch onto my pinky and my palm and read it as a 2-finger scroll. So this really helps me. The only thing about this that I don't like is that it's really cheap. It did come in a pack of 2, but the stitching for the end kind of came off and there's like a string coming out of it. I know how to sew, so it's no big deal. I'll fix this eventually. But at least it got to this point and it hasn't gone any further. I've also bought this little thing. I don't think they're particularly great, especially since you do have to take them off to connect or charge your Apple Pencil. But because I write and draw on my screen so much, eventually it does start to hurt because I'm just holding hard plastic, and it would hurt if I was holding a pencil anyways. So this helps a lot. My only complaint is that it's like a silicone, so it tends to trap dirt and dust, and my actual Apple Pencil gets a little bit gross and sticky because of it. Not anything too hard to clean, but I highly recommend getting one of these if you're going to be writing or drawing a lot. Another thing about the grip I forgot to mention, it does kind of slide a little bit as you're writing. As I'm writing, it'll slowly just move forward and I'll have to just slide it right back. It's not bad and it's super easy to remove and put back on. So the ones I did unbox in the video, the iPad case works great. It holds the Apple Pencil perfectly. So right here, it's got it secured. The only problem is if you grab it sort of at an angle, you could end up with this, and the pencil is now on the front of the iPad instead of on top. Now, the viewing angle of the case for the iPad is a little too tilted for certain angles. Because it's just a triangle fold system, it's fixed at a certain viewing angle. That can be a little not great depending on where you're sitting and where you're trying to view from. Sometimes you want something that's just a little higher.
And although I've tried kind of setting something up behind it, it will eventually push back on the case and it might make it start to fall. So I don't recommend doing that if you have one of these cases.
The AirPods case does what I needed to. It keeps it from opening without my permission. Now, the downside, this is a little hard for my boyfriend to open. He doesn't use it often. There is sort of a trick to it.
Just pull it up, pull it back, you're done, and then just push it up and it's closed.
The charge port is a little hard to close. As I mentioned in my unboxing video, it hasn't gotten easier, but it's not a hassle. Especially with the battery life of the AirPods, honestly, I can't complain. Now, on to the apps. I've had a number of people ask me for a Procreate review. I'm not amazing at using Procreate. I still don't know most of like the little tips and tricks and everything like that. I like the app. I can make a more in-depth review, especially comparing Procreate to Sketchbook, which is the free app that I used to use for drawing. Procreate definitely has more options. It's more intuitive in the way some of the motions work. Damn cat. And by far I love the tap with 2 fingers to undo. I often try to do it on OneNote after I've been drawing for a while and I'm like, oh, right, it doesn't work here. Please, OneNote, add that. The stock brushes are pretty good. My only real cons about Procreate are editing brushes is not as easy as it was in Sketchbook. In Sketchbook, you can grab any of the hundreds of stock brushes and play with the customization. In Procreate, like, I haven't figured it out on my own intuitively. I'm sure there's a simpler way to do it. I'm sure there's a way to create your own brushes that is rather easy. I haven't tried any of those things out. I will in the future. I'll let you know how it goes. Another thing that I don't like is that when you're moving stuff around your canvas, if you move something out of frame and then leave editing and then try to pull it back into frame, you've lost whatever you've sent out of frame. Let me explain. Sure. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move it, right? As you're editing, you can push things off frame, bring it back in. Let's move this a little off frame. Stop the editing. I've realized I want to bring it back in. And it's gone! I wish it did keep anything that you pushed off frame, but that's really just me. I don't know if any software does. I just wish it did. Another thing that I find not awful but relatively annoying about Procreate is that in the gallery, if you're trying to swipe to the home screen, it will first swipe up through all of your images and then swipe to the home screen. And then when you open it back up, it is far down in your images. Yeah, it is a bit annoying. Now on to OneNote. boy, do I have a number of things to say about OneNote, one of which is good. Let's start with the pros, shall we? The pros are, I can move or copy pages or folders or items or photos, right? That's about where the pros stop. What would be a pro is that I can access the notes on any device as long as I sign into Windows. Psych, it doesn't quite work like that. My math folder works perfectly on my laptop. I guess because they're both Apple devices, the swap between dark mode and light mode is easy between both devices. Hi, Stefano. I've tried to open up the same notebook on a Windows computer, and I could not get it into dark mode. Now, I write all my notes with pastels. If you're in light mode, it's illegible. You cannot see it. Also, notice I specifically said my math folder. I also have a YouTube folder,
a personal folder, a chemistry folder, and a chemistry lab folder.
None of the other folders are available on any other device except my iPad. Why? Don't know. It won't sync. Speaking of sync, it very often just tells me, we can't sync, we're working offline, and it'll move the screen when it does that, because it doesn't just pop up. No, it pushes all of this down. So then I'll be writing, it'll show the notification, I'm like, whatever, I keep writing, when the notification goes away, it moves the screen back up, and if my pen is to the iPad at that moment, it'll just create a line. Like that. Another thing I hate is that... Hi, Stefano. Another thing I hate is that it just randomly sends you back somewhere if you hit back.
If you switch your pen, if you tap the eraser, if you switch the size of the pen.
It will... If I draw here, and I hit back. Look at that. Where am I? I don't know. Not where I was. Look at that. Look at that. All I did was hit back. It just sent me somewhere else. OneNote just decides, no, sorry, you're not gonna smoothly work on this.
Hey, baby.
Speaking of the back button, it will sometimes remove the option to go back. So like the back button will just be grayed out. Not because I left the notebook and came back. No, I'm in the middle of writing. And it just doesn't have the back button anymore. Why? Maybe it decided to sync at that moment. Who knows? Regardless, I don't know if you've noticed this entire time that I've had this sort of sidebar on OneNote. You can't get rid of that. You can open it further to see all your sections and all your actual notebooks. And you can close it down to just the pages, but that's as far as it goes. You can't get rid of this sidebar. And in upright view, it's very much in the way. This would be the perfect just page to write on if this wasn't here, but it is. I've got one more thing here. Putting in images into your notes is a pain. So if I go to Insert, I tap right here, I go to Pictures.
I have to go into Recents, then tap a picture, hit Done. That's not it. It also opens the picture, blinding you if you're in dark mode. And then you get to crop and edit whatever, and then hit Done.
And now it's in. And then you can tap it and move it around and resize it, do whatever.
Pictures, Recents, tap the picture, Done. It's like you're not done, you have to tap Done again.
There you go. It's mostly a mild annoyance, but an annoyance nonetheless that I feel I should mention. For next semester, I'm probably going to try out a different way of doing my notes, either just using Apple Notes or using something like GoodNotes. I plan to watch a few more reviews, but I want to get off OneNote. It's just too much. If I'm not able to sync all of my folders, why am I using an online note product? Really? It doesn't even work well in Windows. Windows doesn't have a dark mode for OneNote. It's just annoying.
I would go into detail about the mouse as an accessory, but I made an entire video on it, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Spoiler alert, it's not great with the iPad. It's amazing for the laptop, not great for the iPad. So to wrap it up, my name is Nico. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed and you like my content. Have a wonderful day. The two things I use this monitor... Wow, okay, monitor. Are all Apple products.